Thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited. It's our first show after session has ended. We've all had a little bit of sleep and rest. We've seen some of our family, but today I'm really excited to share this time with you to talk about and to talk with my seatmate, Tina Orwall. Tina, it's great to have you here today. You're one of the best seatmates ever. I can't imagine having somebody more supportive than you. While we don't live in the same city, we travel the same roads, we have the same needs, and we care about the people. And I'm really excited to have a really informal conversation today. And I have to start off with this story. I was a baby freshman, and I knew nothing about how to start a bill. I came in mid-session, and you had a bill for me to change a couple of words in the Fairness Foreclosure Act, and that made it to the governor's desk. But this year you had House Bill 1108. It's an act relating to maintaining funding and assistance for homeowners navigating the foreclosure process. You're such a champion for people staying in their homes, making sure that they can live with dignity. Do you want to talk a little bit about your bill and about the issue?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mia, and it's such an honor to serve with you. And we've shared so many incredible memories. And I just want the people of our district to know that you serve with your heart. You are the kindest and so thoughtful in policy and to people. And we've teamed up on so many things. And I had to laugh when I thought about our work on foreclosure fairness, because it really has come full circle. 1108 is a great example of trying to prepare that we have the supports that families are going to need during this pandemic, that the program is up and running and fully funded. As you know, we expanded it to help small landlords as well. And I think the full circle for me is the program's great, but it needed to be funded. In your role with appropriations, you were able to make sure it gets the funding to be successful, that people have access to the housing counseling and the mediation services. So always great to team up with you.
Thank you for such kind words. And it's really interesting to be here today talking with our best co-conspirator, Senator Karen Kaiser, who's such a lead on labor issues and capital budget needs that we are always asking for, whether it's for food bank money or infrastructure dollars for our airport or our communities, our manufacturing communities. But Tina, I can't help but think about all the work you and Karen have done around the airport, whether it's healthy air or the noise issues. Do you want to talk a little bit about all that work you've been doing?
Well, thank you. No, it's really been such a great team effort for the 33rd. And as you know, that airport has such an enormous impact on our community, and it really impacts our quality of life. And so I really appreciate all the teamwork, and Senator Kaiser has been a champion. And, it's a variety of things. It's from trying to site a new airport, right? To take the burden off of an airport that's just smack in our district and affects how people sleep. It affects the air they breathe. We've been working with the University of Washington around looking at air quality. We realize that there's ultrafine particles that come out of jet fuel that impact health. And so we're trying to not only understand that, but figure out how to mitigate it. And I think we all teamed up on capital budget this year to do the project that will be in our schools, right? To start looking at air quality and putting in air purifiers to improve the air quality for our kids. And again, we spent a lot of time working on this together, and I know we have a lot of meetings we're scheduling already. So thank you.
Thanks, Tina. There's one thing that I know for sure is that you're one of the hardest working legislators I know. Thank you for all that work. One of the biggest, most controversial topics that are probably newer on all of our platforms is that racism is a public health issue. It really is something that our district must grapple with, and we are learning to talk about racism, racial tensions, and some of that is through our schools, whether it's ethnic studies or whether it's through language access, and ensuring that our families are able to get access to what's going on in these schools by having great translation services. Do you want to talk a little bit about your leadership with our favorite nonprofit, Multicultural Open Doors in Kent?
Yes, thank you so much. I am so proud to be teaming up with South Kent County and Open Doors. This issue came to us a number of years ago from families who didn't feel welcome in the school districts or didn't feel like their needs were being met. Some families had children with special needs and didn't feel engaged around IEP or 504 and the planning that happens. And so it's really been a community effort to say, what are the best practices we should have around the use of interpreters? As we welcome families to the school, as we have, any kind of meeting, we want parents are such an important part of a kid's educational experience. We want to make sure families feel welcome. And so I really, appreciate the focus on this, but I do want to note how proud I am of your leadership and our caucus, that everything we've been doing is really with an equity and social justice lens. And I think your role in appropriation, wearing that hat, is so important, because the budget and how we invest our money in things like language access is an example of really how we address systemic racism and how we really build a better future. So thank you.
I think we're at one of my favorite parts of this show, and that is to talk a little bit about real life, like why we became a legislator. And we're both moms, and we went to the UW, go Huskies, and actually we're both adopted. Not everybody knows about that. I love the fact that we're both adopted, and I know you found your bio mom, and you've passed bills to really help people find their family. Thank you for that. And you probably have a great story about what it's like to be an adopted legislator and passing bills related to helping those find their families.
Well, thank you so much for raising that. And I do think it's a unique life experience that we both share. I have heard from people all over the state around their stories of being adopted or birth parents. And, it's kind of part of that mystery of our lives, right? That sometimes we don't know where we were born or know our birth parents. And it's such a part of the journey. And as a legislator, to work on this issue was just so powerful. I'll just never forget the people I met. And when we passed the bill to open up records, the original birth certificates, one of the first families that actually tapped into the bill was Senator Kaiser's son. And, it just reminds us that we're all so connected. She had an adopted son. And, I just really, think we need to support families in their journeys, and families look different. And, I feel so fortunate, to have had such a wonderful family growing up, and to have that ability to just expand my family and support system. And I know we wouldn't be the people we are without that life experience. So I'm really proud of that.
Tina, that's something that you should be proud of. And I think it should be considered fact that you've made this world a better place for being in it. Tina, one of my favorite parts about coming home after session is getting our district office up and running. Now we're in Kent, and I'd love to talk a little bit about our LAs that staff the office and that connection point where people can come in and see us.
Thank you, Mia. And I really enjoy sharing an office and feeling that connection. I know we have the most amazing LAs that work so hard and are so kind. And it's just so great that we're in a location that's easily seen and people can reach out to. But again, I'm so grateful for Mary and for Sammy and just all the great work they do for us in the district.
I agree, Tina. Our LAs do amazing work. They're so smart, and they really are a lot of the heart and soul of our district. They're the face of our district. They're the people that when regular people walk in off the street and have a question, they're the first faces and the first people that they talk to. And I can't thank Sammy and Mary enough for all their hard work. This last interim was really difficult. We had so many people who are newly unemployed and looking for the first time where to find food, and trying to navigate these really cumbersome systems that governments and nonprofits have put together, which is great. But I think it's just a strong reminder that all those community events, all those celebrations we've been going to are a way for us to really listen and learn and make sure that the work we're doing is really connecting and meaningful to those that elect us. What about you? What are some of your experiences?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you focusing on the connection to the community. And, I know that's something you value deeply as well. I can't think of a session where I didn't have at least one or two bills that were brought to me by constituents. They give us our marching orders of, what system's not working, what we can be doing, whether it's consumer protection or advocacy on social justice issues. I've had, like a constituent that was taken advantage by a predatory contractor, and she lost thousands of dollars that was supposed to be into remodeling her home. And that turned into a bill that we're still working on for next session. Or foreclosure, hearing from community members, sometimes 2 or 3 families on a block that were facing foreclosure when during the Great Recession. And again, we're worried about that now. So I feel like, that connection and hearing the voices of the people in our community really is what helps us do good work in Olympia.
Remember, Tina, when we went to lunch and we talked to a concerned mom whose son needed hearing aid support. They needed to be able to, they were asking us how to change the law so that they could get access to hearing aids, not just for her son, but for all the kiddos in school, and how that turned into a bill. I think that's a great example of when someone in our community reaches out to us, we are there to listen. Do you want to talk a little bit about that story? I know you shepherded that a little bit farther.
Yeah, no, that's such a great example. Jill, who's just this incredible advocate in our community, reached out to advocate not only for her child, but for all the children in the state. And Representative Wicks, who's a new legislator, really took the championship on this. She really has been advocating, and we got into the budget, and thank you, a proviso to help this work move forward. I also think of Karen, who's a constituent where we teamed up to work on a driver's license that it'll now have a symbol on it to let folks know if someone is deaf or hard of hearing. And this was brought to us by Karen and other advocates for a safety concern. And again, it led the way to really making a significant change in our community. And again, every voice needs to be heard and needs to shape the legislation we work on.
That's a great story and good reminder of how things sort of complement each other. I don't know about you, Tina, but this remote session was something I really don't want to have to do again. So I have this really loud furnace behind me, and it kept getting louder and louder over session. And my biggest worry is I would be on TVW or something with this loud clanking furnace. My mom and her husband also live upstairs, and every once in a while they'd come down and start talking to me, and they wouldn't really listen to see if I was actually talking. How about you? Did you have some crazy times during remote session?
One of the things I had to do was what's called pro forma, which is when we have to open up the rostrum, like they have to do activities of moving bills around, but we're not doing a floor session. And so I would have my gavel, and I would hit my gavel to kind of start the pro forma, and it was on my dining room table. And my dog Kona would always run to the door and start ringing the bell. And she just wanted to get as far away from that gavel. And I would be doing everything I could not to laugh during this because it's recorded and it's live. And so, yeah, I think we all learned, or I think of all those times presiding where people didn't know their microphone was on, or we called on them and they were on the phone call. And yeah, I just think staff did a great job helping us through a session, but we certainly will never forget this session. It was once in a lifetime, hopefully. So.
It sure was. And I think Kona's got something, I think she's got something in mind. Let's get away from the gavel. Let's get out of here and hit the trails. So thank you so much for your time today. It's really such an honor to serve with you. And I think the 33rd Legislative District is so lucky to have you.
Oh, well, thank you. And I feel the same way. And I'm just so grateful for your leadership and your friendship.
And hopefully we'll have another one of these visiting with Mia and sometime next month. All right, well, have a great day, Tina.
Thank you. Such an honor.
Bye-bye.
Bye.